And we're trying, our communications people are working on a system that will capture streaming and recording at the same time tonight. And there's an instruction that we've been provided, and it's really simple, and that is speak clearly and into your mic. So I'll try to keep people on point with that. And I know Councillor Baswick's good at that as well, keeping us speaking into our mics. And I'd also like to talk to council tonight about, we've talked a long time about shortening our meetings because they are long. And I don't think Councillor Baswick thinks they're too long, but I still would like to continue to encourage council to be mindful of time when putting together a string of questions or comments. I've always appreciated council dialogue during our meetings, but sometimes of late it's getting repetitive and lengthy without good reason. Please don't repeat questions or comments. Please ensure your questions and comments are on topic. Ask your questions through the chair after you're acknowledged by the chair. And please don't speak out of turn or over others. All of these tips and hints will help us have a good meeting that stays on point and on time. And with that, I will ask for adoption of the agenda as amended. And I have one amendment, and that'll be to add a personnel item to the closed meeting. And I'd like to just bump everything down so we can go first and just get it out of the way. Are there any other amendments or additions, Ethan, council? Motion to adopt agenda as amended, Councillor Baswick?
Yes, I'll move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
And that's to add this personnel item to the closed as 12.1 and drop everything else down. So I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have item 4.1, adoption of the January 24th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Moore?
I move that the council adopt the January 24th, 2023 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Are there any comments or questions about the minutes? All right, I'll call the vote then. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll start with council reports tonight, and I'll start on my right. And I might have started on my right last time, but it's been 3 weeks, so I don't remember. Councillor Moore, go ahead.
Yes, I'll start with the Mountain View Seniors Housing meeting, and key messages just came yesterday, so I wasn't able to get them into the external reports. There's disappointing information from the government that we're expected to pay the extra $20 a month, that residents will be guaranteed even though provinces, not us, are responsible for income supports. Despite that, we're finding ways to chip away at expenses, reducing rent by $20,000 in October, and positions and implementing staff-inspired economies. A big bonus that we didn't expect was provincial permission to use the proceeds of the former Foothills Lodge for capital improvements in the other lodges, which should allow us to redirect other funds toward debt reduction. That's a big bonus because the Foothills Lodge was the former Lodge in Sundre, and it's pretty close to $450,000, so that'll make a real difference. We had 2 grand openings on February 7th. Elk Fitness, a smart 24-hour-a-day, well-equipped gym in the 17th Avenue Mall, and Daphne's Market. I'm sorry, I'm stealing thunder here. But because I did go to both of these, with fresh local food and goods, including white squeaky cheese curds for your poutine. And our performance evaluation committee is off to an efficient and thoughtful start.
Did you write that all down?
I did.
Wow.
So I can do it fast.
It's well done. And it's very good news about seniors housing, the sale of the Foothills Lodge. Thanks for that. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Regarding our Red Deer River Municipal Users Group, haven't met since last meeting, so I don't have an update at all, thank you.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Engel.
Well, mine won't be as exciting as Councillor Moore's. We did have an ICC committee meeting, and as she alluded to, the Performance Evaluation Committee. I won't go into details there because we have one item on the agenda tonight, so it'll be spoken to coming up. And like Councillor Windsor, I have 2 meetings yet to happen this month. They will be before my next report is due, which would be 29th or something. So library and chamber to come this month.
I hope you're here on the 28th and not the 29th. Thank you for that, though. Councillor McCoy.
I haven't had any outside of council meetings other than the ones that Dorothy talked about. So, and they were both great events. It was a lot of fun. 2 great businesses and 2 great families. So we're lucky.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bazard.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. With the Water Commission, we have nothing major to report other than the river's been running open, which is good, and it's running clear. So expenses are down because we're not having to treat a lot of muddy water. And one interesting thing that came out of the meeting was that Bowden was using wastewater and directing it to the golf course. So it's something that other places might consider looking at, using the resource instead of filling up the lagoon. That's basically, we have the CAO review coming up at the next meeting, so that is the other thing. And that's my report.
Thank you. I'm just going to go around one more time.
Because I was going to ask what you have coming up in the next 2 weeks. If anybody can just think of, if there's anybody who'd like to offer that up, that is quick to recall. Want to start anything, Councillor Ward? Before February 28th. Just trying to get a sense of what's going on in the next 2 weeks as well. But Councillor went like that, so nothing. Thank you. Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Red River Municipal Users Group will be meeting before the 28th, and we're also working on approaching a couple of ministers for audience. And so I'll be able to report a little bit more on that at that time.
Thank you. One more time to my left, Deputy Mayor.
Municipal Library meeting coming up, and Chamber of Commerce. AGM, I think, Thursday night.
Great, it is. What time? It was all, maybe everybody would like to go to that.
7 p.m.
7 p.m., Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Councillor McCoy.
I have, hold on. After the 14th. Okay, so I have all day tomorrow with the Cape board meeting. And Thursday, I have SPC, Strategic Planning Committee. A few of us do. And I have a Prairie Mountain Health Advisory Council meeting, but that's not representing council.
Oh,
Let's see. Then we have the council input on the pathway system on the 21st. And that looks like that's it until the meeting.
all right. So everybody got those ones that we're all going to? You learned noted them? You did, didn't you? Councillor Baswick.
Thank you, Mayor. This is before the 28th or 21st? 28th? Okay. All right. So I have a conductivity meeting, or connection meeting, I'm not sure what that is yet, but MPC meeting after that. And a CAO review. And then, of course, some personal maintenance that I have to deal with.
Good to know.
Yeah,
I'd like to
I can give you those dates.
W minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks for those. We had a municipal area partnership meeting.
On January 26th, finished up a presentation for Mount Airy Seniors Housing that was very interesting and valuable. I attended the Elks, the Alberta Elks Association. We're allotted 10 of the Platinum Jubilee medals to award to members of their association. And they all met in Disbury on Saturday, January 28th at 1 p.m. And it was quite impressive to have the past exalted rulers and past national exalted rulers and some very, very busy and connected and committed ambassadors of their communities. And Margot Ward was the Disbury recipient of that award, so that was nice to be there and participate in and watch. I did sit on the Mount Airy Seniors Housing meeting for January. I judged with these two counselors on my right, the Rossford Elementary School Education and Science Fair. And I learned about the smallest bird in the world from this cutest little guy. And the smallest bird in the world is the bee hummingbird. And it was just an excellent little, but everything was good. I had lunch with Brock Spreading, Keep Alberta Rolling. Got a little bit of an update from him, and he's always excited to be in Disbury and help us with furthering our promoting and endorsing our beautiful community. He ground opening for Elk Fitness. I was at as well, and unfortunately couldn't make Daphne's because the time didn't work, but congratulations to Elk Fitness and Daphne's on their openings of the new the gym and the retail. I did attend the MPC Commission to watch approved discretionary use of another drive-through business, a retail strip mall in Shawns. Attended the Brownlee Municipal Law Seminar. Some good stuff. Did talk a little bit about ICFs, and that was good and bad news, but we'll talk about that another day. And coming up, I have the Central Alberta Mayor's meeting on February 22nd. And other things that probably will pop up. So that's my report, and that's all council's report. I do want to mention, we're supposed to be entertaining, hosting, welcoming MP Dreeshen here on February 28th, but that date got changed, I'm told. So do we have a new date?
Yes, sorry, it's the first Tuesday in March. I mean, the first council meeting in March. So 14th.
14th of March, MP Dreeshen will be here. Okay, and I wanted to mention pedestrian connectivity. When we have an audience like this, I would want to make sure everybody does participate in the survey about our pedestrian connectivity survey that's going on, so that we got a $50,000 grant from the federal government to the Active Transportation Grant to do a plan for pedestrian pleasure and walkability and bikeability and rollability and whatever else you do that's ability to get on our pathways. So that's on the survey. There's also engagement session. There's two virtual engagement sessions, and there's one walk-in to the Memorial Complex. And I don't have them wrote down, but they're in February. So please look for those and participate, since we have so many, and for everybody watching on live stream, to make sure you get on and participate in that survey. That's going to be valuable for our future of our pathways and trails. So I would like a motion to accept council reports as presented, or as information, whatever you like. Deputy Mayor?
I move the council accept council reports as information.
All right, any other questions or comments? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. We have item 6.2, the CA report for February 14th. Anything to add to your report, Ethan?
No.
Any questions or comments on the CEO report? Councillor McCoy and then Councillor Windsor.
Just one question. There was some statements on social media, of course, about kids being tested with their swim ability before they could get in the pool, even with their parents. And I'm just curious if that's the norm around that area, like when you go to a pool here.
Does anyone, you want to answer that question? I can answer that question. But I'd certainly let staff, yes, there is always a test for kids to be able to swim a certain distance in water before they go into deep water. And even when you have a child with you that has a life jacket on, you can't go in the deep water they can't go in the deep water without their adult. So it's a safety item, and it's a norm across the province in Alberta, at the very least, maybe across the country. And that's, I don't know if anybody's aware, but there's over 60 drownings last year in Canada. And I think it's valuable for our kids to have that in our facility as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm looking at the report for the water loss report update and unmetered water, and I want to thank the administration for clarifying that it is unmetered water. I'm wondering if we could get a list of, maybe this requires a motion after we accept the CA's report. I'm wondering if we could get a list of the items where water usage, water dispensary, water supply isn't metered that we know of, other than loss, other than leaks or loss in other ways. So I know that the Trader dumping station, I believe that's not metered, and that's just one that I'm aware of. And I wonder if it would have a bearing on a significant impact on the 37% supposed unmetered water lost.
So, someone else have anything?
Good evening, thank you for the question. So yeah, we don't have a meter at the septic dump station or the campground, which are sort of two sources of water consumption that we do know of. In the grand scheme of things, they wouldn't really impact things significantly based on the quantity of water that we do go through in a month or a year. So they've, although not known specifically, we don't think they contribute significantly to the water loss number. Does that make sense?
Can we just wait for our councillor to be seated, maybe? And carry on? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. There's identified two things. Is that the only two things that we're using water that isn't metered?
Is the question clear? Like,
Sorry, yeah, no, I missed the
maybe
question. Sorry.
clarify, like a more clear question as to what you're after exactly?
Well, I'm like, that's only two things that may be responsible for unmetered water, and I'm wondering if there's other uses that we are aware of, other than leakage, that might contribute to us being able to justify a 37% loss. So I guess, is that the only two that we have in town that are unmetered?
Ethan? Craig?
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity for clarification. So no, when the fire department does training, they give us estimates. When we do fire hydrant flushing, which we do all summer long, we keep track of an estimation based on the port size that we're opening and the pressures that we're monitoring for the volume. So they're not incredibly accurate, and they aren't metered out. We do try and estimate the quantity of it, but it is considered unmetered water.
Okay, thanks for that, Craig. Can I use that answer? Okay. Any other questions or comments? I saw some information come back on our fire calls. And 95% of our alarms are non-urgent or false alarms, in other words, not critical. So I wonder, I know other communities are looking into this. Crossfield Knolls are two of them. I'm wondering if, after we accept the CO report as presented or as information, if we can get maybe some more information on that back as to if 95% of 82 calls are false alarms, how is the industry addressing that, or are there any solutions to that? That would be, because we have 3 or 4 firefighters go out with those calls, and our firefighters do have a pay scale, which is fine. But the cost impact, any workarounds to maybe make those more, we can address them better, because I know that it is getting looked at around our province, and it does seem to be getting pretty high with false alarms. Not just here, it's everywhere, I understand that. But if we could maybe have a motion to get some information back on that as to how the industry is maybe addressing it, maybe costs associated with 95% being false alarms.
Yeah, that is something that all communities wrestle with. They all have similar numbers of, again, and there's potential options. There's some communities that look at where you have a charge. If there's a false alarm, there's a charge. But a lot of these things are inadvertent, they're accidental, they're not through negligence, they're just the way the system works. So some communities tend to be hesitant to do that. There's a lot of places you'd end up charging for these calls, but at the same time, there are costs to those responses. It is a difficult thing that the communities wrestle with. Perhaps this is something that could be referred to a committee to explore potential options to bring back a recommendation for council to consider.
I like that idea. I think it's worthy for some research and information to come back. If it is a chronic problem across the province, there are some workarounds and other communities looking at it besides us. So we want to spend our money on really valuable things for fire calls and see what we can do to help with the other issues that maybe we could correct. Deputy Mayor.
So is that something that would go back to performance and evaluation, I guess? So we would need that motion after we accept this.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I do want to thank.
I had it on, let's turn it off. Mountain View Family Resource Network, that was good information, and I'm glad to see that they're really trying to help the department and make us better and make us secure those contracts for that. So thanks to everybody for really good reports this time, well, every time, but all the information came back quickly from a January 24th meeting. We have some answers, and we appreciate that. So I'll have a motion first to accept CO report as information. Councillor Moore.
I move we accept the CAO report as information.
Any other comments? We'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And then a motion to send the fire alarm accidental and non-urgent 95% calls to the Performance Evaluation Committee.
I move the council recommend the Performance Evaluation Committee look for ways or options of reducing false alarms for our fire department. That it be sent to that committee for study.
Yeah.
Or how to better address them. Would that be a friendly, fair amendment, just to
Yes.
better address the false alarms? Got that, Luana?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I guess my comment is, I don't see how we can study that. A false alarm's a false alarm. I mean, the fire department sure can't say no more false alarms. And You know, it seems to be, frankly, a waste of effort to address that particular problem. If there's a false alarm, if there's an alarm, they're gonna go, whether it's false or not, so I don't see us solving it.
Well, that will be in your vote, certainly, and if I could, just, we're not trying to solve that the false alarm happens, we're trying to resolve how our department can address those, just like other departments are. And I know Olds and Crossfield are for sure at this point, so maybe there's some lessons to be learned from our colleagues or from the industry. That's, I guess, really the question. Is that, any other questions or comments? Call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you, that's carried. We have item 7.1, and that is bylaws and policies, the 2023-01, planning and business license rates and fees, third reading. And our chairperson is not here to speak to that. Councillor McQuaid, do you want to speak to it first?
Sure. Business, planning and business license, correct?
So, after a lot of discussion, our biggest concern was the use of the word resident versus non-resident, because it confused the heck out of us. So we think it might confuse the heck out of businesses. So we've added definitions so that if you don't live in town but you have a brick and mortar structure, that's your business, you're considered a resident. So for the purposes of that, and as well, we added some changes for new business startups, that their first year's fee will be included in, or their first year's business license will be included in their development fee. And that we're giving everybody a substantial, whether they're resident or non-resident, a substantial break if they pay by the end of January. They'll get $100 off. And because it's already February, we put in a codicil for this year that for 2023, the date shall be March 15th before it goes up.
Okay. I'm just going to highlight one other item, that the early fee being lower, and subsequent to the this year, March 31st, next year, January 31st, we want, rather than being punitive for the $100 extra, we'd like to send a motion back for the Policy and Governance Committee to explore allocating half of that $100 to a reserve fund that might be used for downtown beautification or for something that benefits our business community. So it's not so punitive, it doesn't seem like such a harsh application that $100, if they don't get in on the early fee, half of it could go towards. The PGC will explore some options and bring them back for consideration of council to set up a reserve for. Okay, that was one example. The other one was to put some towards a tax sustainability. There's some ideas that floated around, but we'd like it to get sent back to PGC at council's pleasure to explore that further. So the $100 just doesn't go into general revenue, it's used for something for the business community.
Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. So I guess what I'm a little confused, is that the regular fee or the early fee, half of it, or is it the late penalty fee? I guess that's not, like, it's not, the wording is not correct, but after January 1st, January 31st, is it that is going to be split and looked at for putting into a reserve of some kind?
Yes, because it goes up $100 after the deadline for the early fee, so the $100 would be split and half of it be allocated to a reserve that council would consider for allocation into. So there's two motions on this. Are there questions, Councillor Moore?
Yes, I guess maybe I'm still a little bit confused as to the resident and non-resident business license. So does non-resident license mean that they don't have a brick and mortar building in the town?
Ethan wants to speak to that?
Yeah, just to clarify, it's specifically where the business is located. So if it's a home business, it's the address of that home business. If it's a brick and mortar business, it's the location of that brick and mortar business. And so it's wherever the location of the business is, not where the person lives who runs the business, but where the business is located.
Follow up. So that would mean if, like, somebody comes in from out of town and goes door to door, they're going to pay more than if they had a business that was located in the town of Didsbury. That's who we're talking about with non-resident? Okay. And the other thing that I would hope is if we're taking money from business licenses, whether it's early, late, whichever, that whatever that is, that it would be directed towards something that helps businesses, whatever that is, towards something, economic development, chamber of commerce, something like that. Certainly not toward any kind of general revenue for the town.
Agreed. And Ethan would like to speak to that as well.
And just to further clarify to your question, Councillor Moore, someone who's going door to door or things like that, they would probably most likely be covered under, we do have the temporary rates there. If you're coming just for a day, a month, or even a season, most likely someone going door to door isn't usually doing that as on a yearly basis or an ongoing basis.
Anything else? Yes. Go ahead.
So I'll move the council grant third and final reading of bylaw 2023-01 planning and business license rates and fees.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Baswick?
Just one to help my clarity is some folks have thought that a non-resident business owner was someone who owned a business, brick and mortar, but didn't live here. But that's not included in this. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And then the second motion, Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. That the Policy and Governance Committee be charged with further exploring for recommendation to council potential target uses for a portion of the business license fees collected.
For that, any other questions or comments? I think we've gathered all the comments for PGC, so I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. We have item 7.2, bylaw 2023-05, recreation rates, first reading. Motion, please. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. That council grant first reading to bylaw 2023-05 recreation rates and refer it to the Strategic Planning Committee for review.
Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor?
That's more for clarification. On the punch passes, we have a family and that is up to 3 kids, and I'm just wondering how we arrived at 3, not 4 or 7, like what, just kind of how we arrived at 3. And if a family had 4, would we kind of allow them to go in as a family?
Rather than swim in different areas of the pool, you mean?
I was wondering how we came up with 3, if there was a formula for that.
I know that it's historic, like when I worked at the pool, it was 3. So maybe it hasn't changed since then. So, and it could be the industry standard or norm. But maybe we can get that answer back next meeting. Because I don't...
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to put anyone on the spot. I was just trying to to sort of understand how we had like 3. When it says family, my interpretation would be a family, not limiting it or taking and segregating one of their children out. If that's not the right term either, but there may be a reason for it. I don't know what it is.
I would hazard a guess that our personnel are very easy to get along with over there if the fourth kid wants to tag along, but go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, and with those kind of things, each community kind of captures what they feel. I mean, you do want to put some structure to it, or it could be the whole family reunion that happens to be at your house that weekend. But that is certainly something that the committee, when they're looking at and reviewing this bylaw, that they have that conversation as to what they feel is the appropriate limit to put on that.
Councilor McCoy?
I have a question about the Schedule A. I see that the only highlighted parts that changed on this back page proposed rate. And I'm just wondering if we raised the arena rates or any other rates prior to this or for this coming year? Like maybe I missed it.
Was that not addressed back in April or May or June, that our rates were adjusted? Because I believe we had some dialogue with the county as to non-local and local rates, so that was back April or May that our rates were adjusted. But do you agree with that, Amanda?
Yes, so this is, when we initially created this bylaw, the parks and sports fields weren't included. They weren't ready to come yet, so this is just getting all those into the bylaw. And then typically, the rates come a little later in the year to address the changes at the arena or the pool to come into effect like for September through to April.
I guess my second question is are we looking at reducing the deficit that runs over there every year, or are we? Well, I'll look at you. Deficit through.
Just, so finish that question.
I forget what I was saying now. Sorry.
Did you catch part of the question, Amanda?
Yeah, so any deficit or that exists in each of the recreation areas would be addressed as part of the budget discussion.
And sorry, I just have to remind council that we're talking to each other, and the questions do go through the chair because it's council talking here and the dialogue talk that way. So it's not intended to be offensive. It's just the process of council meetings. So are there any other questions on the first reading of the recreation rates? I'll call the motion then. All in favor? Call the vote, and I'll call the motion. Is your hand up, Councilor McQuaid? Okay, thanks. That's carried then. All right, we have item 8.1, an invitation from the Consul General of Japan. Councillor Moore?
I'd like to make the motion, but I'd also like to ask a question. When any interaction I've ever had with them, they're very eager to find business opportunities, and the other people involved in the Consul with Didsbury and with our area. I'm wondering if it might be possible if our economic development officer might be able to go with you to this. It says you and a guest, and the motion is only for you. So I'd like to open the opportunity for you to take a guest, like our economic development officer, if possible. So could I change it for you and a guest? I'm not sure she can, but would that be all right?
Sure. Go ahead. Ben?
So I would move that council approve that Mayor Rhonda Hunter and a guest attend the reception in celebration of the birthday of His Majesty the Emperor of Japan on Friday, February 17th, 2023 in Calgary.
Thank you for that. And I do want to speak to that. I have a personal issue in my life right now. I'm keeping that on my schedule, but it might change because it's something that isn't changeable. At the same time, it says it's not exchangeable, but they've been very good in the past. If we had someone else that we appointed in lieu of, and maybe we want to do that as an alternate motion if this situation is not manageable on Friday for me.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment and suggest that perhaps Luana, because of her connections with people of Japan and her growing Japanese skills, might be a good one to have along.
Oh, well, there you go, Luana. You have a cheerleader here at the desk. So as an alternate, the mayor and guest, and if we'll certainly speak to Alexa about that, we will make her answer right now and bring out her calendar. But having said that, the backup would be Luana in my case. And any other questions or comments? Councillor Windsor.
So, thank you, Mayor Hunter. So if we're going to do some promotion of individuals, I think that Luana's been involved in this for an awful long time, and if you are able to attend, you might want to consider her as your guest to go.
Well, look at that. We could have a contest. Let's see. We'll sort it out. But thanks for that. I'm sure they both appreciate that. The comments from both the councillors on my right, and we'll get it sorted out if that's going to work for everybody. So, do you want to read that back? Because it was quite lengthy and convoluted.
Moved by Councillor Moore that council approve Mayor Rhonda Hunter or alternate and a guest attend the reception celebration of the birthday of His Majesty the Emperor of Japan on Friday, February 17, 2023 in Calgary.
Well done. So, thank you.
For that. So I'll call a vote. All in favor? That's carried. All right, we have 5-0 Club. Item number 8.2. We can have a motion and then discussion. I think it's self-explanatory, but I think there's some more discussion that goes with it. But if we can have Councillor Baswick.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I move that council approve the termination of the lease agreement between the town of Didsbury and the Didsbury 5-0 Club for the west facility located at 2500 15th Avenue effective March 1st, 2023. And that council approve administration developing a new lease agreement with the Didsbury 5-0 Club for the east facility located at 1619 22nd Avenue for the consideration by council.
Thank you. Comments, questions, Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm in favor of this motion. I think that we need to respect the request that's been put forward here. At the same time, it appears to me that there's going to be a budget implication with this, and I think that it's important that we know what that budget implication is. And I also think that we're going to now be custodians of another building that we maybe need to decide what the future of this building is. I think there needs to be a long-time plan. We've been wrestling over what to do with the old fire hall for 5 years. I don't want this to go on for a 5-year moratorium either.
Thanks for that. Councillor McCoy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was thinking that the same thing, what are we going to do with another empty building? But I'm wondering if their problem is that they can't make ends meet, what if we, instead of making them lease it, what if we just charge them a fee to use it when they do? and so you're not making them go away. But also, as we're kind of looking into Boys and Girls Club coming to town, maybe that would be a great spot for Boys and Girls Club too. Not sure.
Ethan, and then go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and for those comments. If council approves this motion, administration will, in the meantime, continue to utilize it as we find opportunities to, whether it's, I do know we do run some occasional programs there, and there's other things that we do in the meantime, and then obviously this would be on the list of council items that they would do some visioning for. There's a list of a few things that are on council's kind of list of things that they need to do some visioning for and planning for, and which will ultimately come back to council for some decisions to be made. So, but in the meantime, administration would certainly utilize the building as is useful and helpful and feasible. So.
Okay, thanks for all those comments. I do agree with Councillor Windsor that it's not as simple as taking over a building. I think there's a lot of information here. I know that in response to Councillor McCoy, the 50 Club is satisfied using the what used to be the lawn bowling building, so that was discussed, and they presented that they were happy with that building, and they had no problem. They just didn't want upkeep to be responsible for all the finances of it. And the other part of that is the building itself. The town does have a lot of rentable facility space right now, and I think we need a response to this sooner than later because of the budget implications and because of taking on another municipal building. And there's a lot of research to be done about this building and to what direction we could take, because if anybody recalls, the Kinsman Club built this building from the ground up with their own money, and they got the land donated by a private citizen that I believe was a kinsman. And then from there, the 50 Club got it handed over to them, but how the town got involved and what our obligation is and what we should and could and will do with it, I think it's a big conversation, and we need to make a good decision on this, and I think sooner than later, because the finances of it are going to start to become heavy on the budget as well. So I think the motion, I think we need a second motion for direction to bring back, to set a meeting date or get information back and set that timeline as to when to make this decision on the 50 Club for building and how it can fit in with either sale or lease or use or rental through us. So if I can have that second motion. But we have a motion right now. Are there other comments or questions about this? Councillor Moore?
I'm just wondering if we have, I believe Kelsey Hawkins, it's facilities assessment and all of our assets in town. Maybe that could go to that part of administration before it comes back to council, just to see if there are, like the value of it and what other things could be done from the research point of view first. So rather than just to a committee. Thank you.
So could the second motion then be, I think the research really needs to get the history of that building too and where we stand with it, and what the implications of selling it might be or of leasing it, or so do we want to, I think we need kind of a little list in that motion. And Councillor Moore mentioned the, administration will certainly direct it to the proper department, but that's a good suggestion. I think they heard that. I don't think we can direct it to asset management, but I'm sure Ethan's nodding. And then research on the feasibility of a sale, of a lease, of a rental, of the town taking it on, and what is it costing to run a month right now. I think we need to know those things. Anything else to add? So the first motion is made by Councillor Windsor to, no, I'm sorry, it was by Councillor Baswick because it was quite a long one, wasn't it? Yes, it was well done. Okay, so we will call the motion to approve the termination of the lease agreement and developing a new lease agreement for the 5-0 Club for the east facility located at 1619 22nd Avenue. We should name those facilities. It's the old lawn bowling facility. I think we should get some real formal names, so like the old high school land and the, you know, let's, but anyway, that's the motion there. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And the second motion?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. It's going to be, we're going to have to fumble our way through this a little bit, is we need to, for council to direct administration to research the history of the 5-0 building at 2500 15th Avenue. That'd be number one. And then another one would be the cost of operating that building. And I guess number three would be the options available to us for its future use, future.
Sale, lease, or rental.
Yes. And bring that back to council.
Okay. Timely, because of budget implications,
Yes.
and so it's not hanging in the air.
So do you want a deadline on that, Mara?
Well, Ethan, I think you understand the importance of this.
Yeah.
Do you want a timeline on it?
Well, no, just because we don't know how long it'll take to get, this is all new, so.
It'll
this
just
is
take a week, won't it?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So, but,
Expeditiously.
but we understand that this is, again,
Okay.
we need to get some information on this so that council can make some decisions about it.
Okay. All right, and I think we need to thank the 5-0 Club for all they did for that building and the leasing and the renting of it and accommodating so many weddings and parties and showers and whatever it might be. So wish them luck in their new facility that they're already using. Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I was just thinking that if we're going to take on the soon-to-be vacant 5-0 Club, and should the decision be to rent it out, we could be conflicting with the complex in the rental, so we're effectively competing with ourselves. And chances are, smaller groups would go to the 5-0 rather than rent the big space at the complex. So something to consider, I guess. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation too, and maybe in that, what are all the facilities we have available for rent for the public, and if this adds on to what we have already and isn't going to be valuable. So can you repeat that? I'll give you time to write the motion as we spoke.
Moved by Councillor Windsor that administration research the history of the 5-0 Club building located at 2500 15th Avenue and the cost of operating that building and the options available to the town for the sale or rental of the facility.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Well done. Again, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have item 8.3. Appointment to Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee. Councillor McCoy?
I'd like to motion, that council appoint Karen Griffin to the Disbury Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Questions or comments? Alexa or Ethan, I believe she's probably aware this is on our agenda tonight. Okay, good. We're not just going to walk in tomorrow and tell her she's on our committee. And we thank her for putting her name forward, so I will call the vote on that. All in favor? That's carried. And welcome to Karen. I'm sure she'll be a valuable asset on that committee. Item 8.4, RCMP HVAC. Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
I move the council approve to fund the RCMP HVAC project overage of $583.33 from the RCMP Capital Reserve.
Okay, questions, comments? Councillor McCoy? Councillor Windsor? After Councillor McCoy.
I'm just curious why this came to us, because we go over on road projects all the time, or other projects, not all the time, but sometimes, and I'm just not sure if it needs, $583.33 actually needs to come back to us or not. Is that not a discretionary call for staff and council?
Ethan, Amanda?
So we don't currently have a policy that would allow us to go over on a capital budget without bringing it back to council for the funding to be approved. But there are municipalities that have that. We just don't have that written anywhere. So that's why it's here for council to consider.
Councilor Windsor, then County Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm just wondering if Deputy Mayor Engel would consider a friendly amendment to include the total of $17,527.78 in the motion.
Yes, I would.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Did you have a comment, Councillor Beswick?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief one. To me, it's the RCMP building is our asset. And in good conscience, I think people would want us to maintain our buildings. So this has been budgeted. The overage isn't that much, really, in the scheme of things. So I think it's prudent to maintain the structures in town that are valuable to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Call the vote then. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 8.5, composting program. And did you want to, Councillor Moore's going to speak to this?
Yes, they made me be the chair, yes. We started last year in July, one-time rebate program for backyard composters. I believe we had that before, but so that if they're bought from Didsbury retailer, and we started a summer fee discount for residents that need an extra green bin. And we only started at the end of July and it went to the end of August last year. So we thought it would be good to run it again. It did seem to be well received. And so we are recommending that those things be continued. And so I'll make the motion that council approve a one-time $50 rebate for backyard composters to be offered by the town of Didsbury for composters purchased at local Didsbury businesses only. The program is to be funded by the Waste Collection Reserve. And then I have another motion after.
Okay. Comments or questions? Councillor
Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I wonder if we have any information about the success of the $50 rebate for a backyard composter from last year. And secondly, I wonder if anybody has checked with a local supplier to see if they have them available and what they cost and how many they have on hand and how easy it is to order them.
Oh, yeah. I'm just, okay, you have a question. What's your first question?
If we have a report.
Okay, is there an update on how many participated in the program last year? Ethan?
Yeah, that's something we'd have to bring back if desired by council. We don't have that offhand.
Okay, and then you had another question?
Whether they're available in town, if any of the local retailers actually carry and have them in hand.
Shop with, only shop local for these. Anything.
Ethan, do you have that answer?
Last year.
Well, I do know last year when there was use of the program, were able to buy them in town, because that was a stipulation as well. So for sure, Home Hardware had them.
Okay.
Anything else? Does that answer your question? Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a first motion and a second coming. Is that what you're indicating? I hope.
Indeed.
I'm just getting back to my page. So I will call the vote on the motion for the $50 rebate. All in favor? I'm not calling the motion, I'm calling the vote. I'm not sure why I'm confused about that. At least I'm aware of it. The second motion.
I move that council approve a summer fee discount be offered to those residents wanting additional green bins. For the compost collection season, residents may add additional green bins for a one-time change of service fee of $15 per change and a monthly collection fee of $3.15 per additional bin.
Any question? Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm not opposed to this. I think this is probably a good thing, and I'll vote in favor of it. But I think this is a bigger discussion than just a couple of green bins, because there were residents that had trailerfuls of leaves that needed to go somewhere in last fall when the leaves were falling off the trees. The green bins just aren't going to cut that, not even close, nor is a backyard composter going to cut that. So I think it's a much bigger conversation about what we're going to do to provide the kind of service that we need to the residents to handle the volume of compostables that we have in the fall when the trees lose their leaves.
So is there a question for the committee?
We have the answers.
You have those answers without a question. Councillor Moore?
Craig has the answers,
Okay.
and we have looked into all those things.
No,
I would ask that we get that information from Craig or from Deputy Mayor. He has that too.
So Councillor Moore, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Williams are on this committee, so you sat in on the meetings, got the information, and please go ahead.
Actually, Councillor Baswick, not Williams. He's on the committee with us.
I knew that.
That's okay. Yes, I absolutely agree with Councillor Windsor. It's a bigger issue, and what we're trying to do, we're still, as a committee, looking at alternatives. The one that we're trying to explore has proven to be absolutely unaffordable. The cost is astronomical, and so the committee is still trying to explore other avenues, because I've heard from residents as well the issues of relieving the grass and leaf clippings. Leaves, not clippings of leaves, probably they're not mowing their trees, I hope. Absolutely, we agree with you. It's a bigger issue, and it's still being looked into. It's at this point what the avenue we were going down, that the cost just came back. We could not absorb that type of cost. So we have our Public Works looking at other alternatives for us. So we're not finished with this. We're just trying to, especially in spring, offer some relief for extra grass. We won't have leaves yet until fall. So hopefully that helps with your question.
That's good to know. Thanks for that. Then my apologies to Councillor Baswick. Your service is valued on that committee. I knew you were on that committee because that's your favorite one.
Well, thank you for your recollection.
Okay, so I will now call the vote on the discounted green bins for additional bins for the summer. All in favor? That's good.
Okay, we have correspondence and information. And there's a Cape Regional Economic Growth Strategy. Yeah? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that we accept the correspondence items presented as information.
Okay, any questions or comments? I have a couple questions for our board member on Cape. And I read in that document that there's going to be consultation with members on annual priorities, and I think that's certainly new for Cape. And I'm just wondering how they plan to roll that out and how that consultation is going to take place.
Excuse me, I'm actually not sure because it's a very operational thing. That would be done by staff, not by the board members. But I do believe that there could be opportunities where by region people get together, like they're probably looking at renting a space or coming here and involving other communities as well to make it more efficient to come. And I think it's important to get that feedback. We've made a lot of changes on Cape over the last year and a bit, and it's moving in the right direction. And so I think it's essential that we carry through with those meetings.
And then anyone else? Because I also wonder, with this regional economic growth strategy, so I know from our history, once a strategic plan is created, we send the draft out to, and in this case, we'd send the Cape would be sending the draft out to members, and I interpret that this is approved and passed already without member engagement. Is that a fair question or fair statement?
Actually, there is a motion on the books. I'm sorry, I've got a real chess thing going on today. There's a motion on the books that it is going to go to the next AGM, like the fall, the FGM in the fall for member input. Yeah, so that we can move on some of the items, it has been passed by the board.
Okay, and I have one more question because I read this in the Herald about the Cape has joined a advocacy for the Community Rail Advocacy Alliance that's in the north of Alberta. And I'm just wondering, there's two Ritas. Cape is one is certainly South Central Rita, and then PRETA is Peace Region Economic Development Authority. Anyway, the Peace River area has taken up this cost, and I'm just wondering if you knew anything or could provide any enlighten us on Cape's involvement in this this group. That's a northern group, and there's no other northern Ritas involved in it. So I guess it just caught my attention that Cape from South Central Alberta would be involved, but no other northern Ritas would be involved. Any enlightenment on that?
Other than we're very collaborative and board, and we reach out to people a lot to engage because we think growing capacity as a crew, it enhances everyone's service. As I said, I have a full day meeting tomorrow in Cape, so if you want to email me your exact question, and I will certainly get an answer and bring it back to the next council meeting.
Excellent suggestion. All right, thank you for that. And we have a motion. We need a motion to accept correspondence and information. Sorry. Yes, you did. I didn't write it down. Okay, I'll call the vote then on that one document that was in our correspondence. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, we have council meeting highlights. I'm going to start at the other end of the table. I'm actually going to start with Deputy Mayor today. This end of the table.
I think my highlight was the opening of the 2 new businesses in town. It's always nice to welcome new business ventures and have some more offerings for the residents for local shopping. So, thank you.
Thanks for that. Councilor Bush?
Actually, Daphne's Market is a great asset to the community, but if you haven't tried the Lone Pine chocolate milk yet, you need to go there and buy a jug. It is by far the best chocolate milk you're ever going to have.
So your council highlight is
Daphne's.
It's on the agenda. Well, Daphne Mark. Councilor Bader.
I've had 2 gallons of their chocolate milk and I love it. I guess.
Have your report?
Yeah. And everything there is fresh, and everything there is just brought in. It's refreshing to chop them. I guess my highlight is looking at the CAO report. I have to demonstrate my appreciation for the hard work. We're very competitive in all of those areas of rates and fees, and they've done a good job in tidying that up and making it reasonable for the people in Didsbury. So that would be one other one I would suggest as a comment.
Thank you for that. Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to, I'm torn. I'm going to go with the composting program and the continuation of that, and look forward to what the committee comes up with for recommendations for the overflow in the fall.
Thank you. Councilor Moore.
Mine would be the appointment of Karen Griffin to the DDAC. I'm really proud of the improvements we're making in economic development, our economic development officer in DDAC. They're doing a good job, and they're doing exactly what we wanted to do with our priority of getting the place to grow.
Thank you for that. I have to say gratitude to the 5-0 Club, even coming forward to have that conversation with us to give up that lease. That had to be a really hard decision for them because they've looked after it so well for so many years, decades, really. So thank you, the 5-0 Club, for the care and attention to the facility, for looking after our community's needs for halls and entertainment and fun, pool and whatever else they had there, and wish them the best with their new 5-0 Club is what we're going to call it, the new 5-0 Club over at 16th Street. So wish them all the best and thank them. And with that, I'll have, we don't accept those in a motion, but Luana's captured all those. But now we have what these folks, I believe, have all been waiting for, our gallery question period. And I do want, because I see a lot of new faces here, I'm going to read our gallery question period out of our procedural bylaw in chambers. And the holding of gallery question period shall be at the discretion of council, and the format of it shall be at the discretion of the meeting chair, and will only be for questions related to council business or governance. All questions or comments are to be made through the chair. The chair shall have discretion in response to the questions or comments that arise. And we keep comments or questions to 2 minutes as well at the table. And we ask that you come to the mic here at the white table desk and just give us your name for your question or comment. And so with that, I'll welcome people to the desk. Yeah, you can just come up to me. I guess I wasn't really clear on everything, so yes, just, and we'll help you turn the mic on.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Hunter, for opening up the meeting in the gallery for people to come in and openly have conversations with you. I just want to say this is probably a first. I'm spending my Valentine's evening with people I don't know. So thank you for coming out tonight and creating a platform where we can come together and talk. I am a new face. So my name is Leslie Ealing, and I am coming forward mainly as a voice of concern, but I also want to first and foremost say that I don't come here with any agenda. I don't have full knowledge of what it is that I am asking, but I'm coming to you as a council and as the mayor to help me to understand. As we all know, there's a lot of conversations in the media right now about smart cities and 15-minute cities, bylaw changes to agricultural land. So my question to you is how can we decipher the difference as a council and the understanding of the verbiage used between Smart City and 15-minute city? I may lay my head down in my home, but my community is still something that matters to me. And I know that we're rural, we're not urban, and I know a lot of people are saying that the urban cities is where this really is going to affect people, but I don't believe that. I believe that as a rural community, we still have a responsibility to make sure that we're standing up and understanding what it is that we're fighting for. I don't know all the answers. I know you don't know all the answers, but I guess what I'm asking for is a platform, an ability to have a conversation at a table where we can come with questions, where you can come with questions, where we can collaborate as a unit to be able to have a better understanding of what these titles mean. So I guess my question to you is what do you feel is the difference, the terminology, the verbiage difference between 15-minute city and Smart City, and really how that affects us in the rural community?
I have a short answer that this council hasn't explored either at this point. So I always speak on behalf of the council what our direction and our statement is. The council has not explored either of those or had it at our table at all.
So may I ask, is there an opportunity maybe to collaborate a committee that can come sit at the table, have opportunity to have discussion, to maybe have better insight with regards to how this is moving forward? I mean, the last 3 years have been horrible. And I can't imagine sitting in your seat. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't want to sit in your seat. So I say thank you for doing that for the community. But it's still the way that our world is changing. I grew up in a time and a place where we had party lines. And now our technology is moving and advancing so much that I want to make sure that those technologies that are in place for our community are safe for our children and our grandchildren. So, and I don't have those answers. But I beg to ask if there's some way that we can implore a committee, bring someone, a group of people together that has the opportunity to sit with the council, to maybe ask hard questions, to dive deep into what it is that we don't know before decisions are made. That's my question.
Well, what I can, I'm gonna have to end there, but I'll respond in that I see someone has rallied the troops, which is it's good. I like that people are talking, and so this is the fullest our gallery has been, I think, since our park department in 2018. So we appreciate your attendance and presence, and we haven't discussed it. I think council, we do have some council CEO dialogue sessions coming up, and we have some strategic visioning coming up, and if that is something that council would like to pursue as a topic for our community, we are certainly, that would be on our website like everything else. It would be in our agendas. It would be open to the public for information. At this point, I think I can certainly reference, I think the best article wrote to date is by Old's CAO, Brent Williams. So I would refer you to that. I think that speaks for a lot of the region and rural communities, what Brent said in his article. And I think Montgomery County Reeve just was recently quoted with some good comments. And at this point, we don't have any response at all to anything about smart cities or 15-minute cities. If there is an opportunity that comes up, it will be available as public information.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. No, we did. You said you had it?
Well, administration has no interest of looking at any of that. That's not on the radar.
Well, okay, I'll go.
Sorry.
We gave an answer, and the only council has not discussed it, so I can't say we did anything. We have not discussed it, so. Dee Truin.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, I guess I don't have to introduce myself now. I'm Deanne Truin. Most of you have known me for about 40 years, but because we came to Disbury 43 years ago. I'd like to discuss the Pedestrian Connectivity Master Plan Community Engagement Meetings. First of all, I'm very happy to hear that Disbury residents are being consulted on this, but I do have some fairly significant concerns with how the meetings are going ahead. Now, my understanding of this is that these meetings are being conducted over Zoom. And over the last 3 years, I've talked to a lot of different people in different areas of different communities. And the one consistent topic is that the lack of engagement they feel. You all know I'm a teacher. Kids do not engage over Zoom well. Teachers do not engage over Zoom well. There's a quote from a Stop at Nothing, a company which helps provide individual and organizational performance for companies worldwide. And their quote is, "An increasing amount of anecdotal and scientific evidence exposes the limitations of digital and virtual meetings in comparison to in-person, face-to-face interactions, meetings, and learning experiences," end quote. Cornell University study absolutely agrees with that, and there are many, many more studies that agree with that. So one of my questions is, why are these being done by Zoom? My second concern is that we had a strategic open space and pathway plan referenced in the Didsbury 2012 Municipal Development Plan, I believe. So we've engaged one company that's engaged another company, both from outside Canada, instead of revising and using the plan set down in 2012. Am I accurate, or is that something else? And I've heard you guys talk tonight about the meeting, and my understanding is that councillors won't be attending these meetings. Is that correct? And if not, why? You guys are, if this is called a community engagement plan, you should be engaging with us, and you can't if you're not there. So those are my concerns.
Okay, can we start with the first one?
Okay, I have to find it again.
We have to repeat it all again.
Well, why are the meetings being done over Zoom?
We will, I think our administrative team said, well, I know they're sitting here listening, and I mean, social media is a process right now. I appreciate your information. I think if there's feedback, I think we can get back to you on that, to Dee, that however they've set up, obviously this is a facilitator that has been contracted to do this survey for us and this whole process for us through the Active Transportation Grant. So if there are deficiencies in it at this point, I think we'll have to address that with the department looking at it, and maybe get some answers back. But
So,
I think the facilitator is going to be as thorough as they always are in any community when we're looking at these sorts of master plans.
so they decided it would be done over Zoom.
Once they're contracted, they would engage with our department manager or director, and from there, plan would be made. And they would come in, and I'm sorry, I can certainly defer this to Ethan or Amanda, that they would come in and consult and confer with our department director and set a plan. And your feedback, though, glad to hear it. And maybe, do you have anything to add to that? That would be the process. They come in and confer with our department director and set a plan. And plus, they already have done many of these surveys in the past. So, anything to add to that? Nothing to add to that? We'll take those points down with you, if you think there's a missing component to that.
I think it's really important. I think that you're not going to get the community engagement that you want over a Zoom call.
We do have one, and I know, I hear that you're saying that's not that, but there is one at the complex too, that is an in-person engagement.
At the very end, yeah. And are any of the councillors, oh, sorry, I'll wait.
Yeah, you can get that question next. Go ahead.
Through the chair, just to clarify, There are several engagement types planned for this master plan, and they do include Zoom, and some people maybe enjoy Zoom and it's convenient for them. So we've offered a variety of methods to allow everybody to be able to participate, and it includes, the consultant has even gone out of their way to say, call us at any time if you cannot make the sessions in this manner. We're happy to talk to you at any time over the phone, and we'll schedule a call with you. They're also going to be down in the pathways in person, running into people who are using them, engaging with them that way, and then they do have the one in town in person plan for the memorial complex as well.
Okay.
Thanks for your concerns.
Sorry?
Thank you for that.
Okay. And so my last question is are any of the councillors going to be attending on the Zoom calls at the one in the arena?
I can only answer for me. We have a session ourselves, and the public consultation is done by, I understand what your point is about consultation and interaction with council, but they get the information from all the questions they're asking. And that information comes back. There's no way I can sit down and get all the information they can in 1 hour, because they're going to be doing a variety of consultations and means by which to gather the information. So I'm not a note taker or a facilitator or a professional at gathering all that information. I'll sit in on one of the calls. I don't know about anybody else, but that would be at their discretion. And we do have a session, and we do take feedback from the survey consultants who are the professionals that gather that information.
So you are going to sit on one of the calls?
I'll be sitting.
Well,
I'll be showing up at the arena.
at the arena on is it the 23rd, I think?
But I'm not there, we're not there to do the engagement. We certainly can be there, but the engagement is from the people gathering the information. Because they will document it.
And I understand that, but I still think residents of Didsbury are going to feel far more comfortable once they've talked to these people or heard their presentation. They're going to be far more comfortable engaging with you, because you're the guys that we look to for, making the decisions, right? So that's just, I just have a concern about that. So, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Wendy Jones, and
Wait to sit down.
pardon me? Oh, Wendy Jones. So I'm just curious to know, for the community project, why companies from outside of the country are being engaged to find out information about, or relay information. Isn't there anyone around who could do that?
I can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay, and in terms of the Zoom, I have a disabled son. He doesn't like going on Zoom, and he also doesn't like going out in public. So just a point I'm making. So there may be some people in the community who either don't like doing that, or who aren't maybe savvy to be working on Zoom. I'm thinking seniors.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
Amanda had her hand up to address that.
Through the chair, sorry. As part of the engagement plan, there are various groups of people that we've planned to connect with through organizations in town. So if people happen to be parts of those groups, we may be getting their feedback that way. And hopefully, we are trying to reach as many people as possible. That makes for the best plan in the end. And so if there's a way that individuals feel like that we've missed being able to have them participate, please let us know, and we'll make we'll try our best to have those meetings happen.
Is there any possibility to do paper submissions?
For the survey?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
Does that help, Wendy? Answer your
Yeah,
question?
sure, for that question, yes.
All right, anything else?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew McAleese. I live here in Didsbury. And my question is along those lines of economic development. For the past 3 years, since this pandemic came upon us, I've been unemployed. Last council meeting, you folks approved to provide letters of support for assumedly local businesses seeking permission to import workers from the provincial and the federal government, is my understanding. I've been unemployed for the last 3 years. The local town here, according to the regional dashboard at alberta.ca, is 10% unemployment. I understand, like, business is integral to life. People, I mean, it's how we make a living. But when you have a 10% unemployment rate, and I'm one of those people unemployed, or I don't know who else is unemployed or underemployed, and you're providing letters of support for businesses to import workers, I have a problem with that. Can you understand that?
I hear your comments, thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is David Cunningham, and I thank you for hearing me and answering my questions. So, I'm asking questions based on the pedestrian connectivity master plan. So, I would like to sort of add to what was discussed about Zoom. So, first of all, a Zoom meeting should be a complement to a process, not the primary process. So, I think we should consider, wherever the council should consider having the first 2 engagement workshops as being in person, with Zoom to be a supplement to that. My next question is in regards to the 2 consulting companies. GSA being the first one, Green Space Alliance. They're an Indian company. They do have an office in Edmonton, but was the tender process for these 2 contracts open? Or were they just automatically handed out to these 2 companies? Next question. Were local consultants considered? Now, I understand that they were engaged based on a government grant. What was the value of that grant? And of that grant, or of those 2 companies, what were they actually paid, or what are they being paid? And does the grant cover those 2 contracts? And in addition to that, are any town resources being employed, and what is the value of those resources? So basically what I'm asking is, for this entire process, are we actually losing money, or is it all being covered under the grant?
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. We'll get back to those answers. I can tell you it's $50,000 grant, but
Right.
we'll get the other information for you.
Okay, so you undertake to get me those answers. We also provided to date or time when those answers will be provided.
Expeditiously? We'll do the best we can to get it to you.
Okay, so we're talking a week, 2 weeks, like expeditiously doesn't have a time limit attached to it.
I can't give you time. I know that you get the answers.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I got a few.
Yes, go ahead.
Just waiting for everybody's attention.
Thank you.
You're speaking to council here, so you're not paying attention.
I just
That's
see,
okay.
I just see a big circle here, sorry. Fred Van Fleet, I just wanted to start with picking up some of the small pieces from the overall agenda and conversation. Fees for the swimming pool, 33% increase. I don't know if you figured that out, but those are substantial increases. Do you feel under pressure to increase revenues in this way?
You're asking me that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's great. I don't feel under pressure to do anything. I do my homework and I look at my information and I don't feel under pressure.
So this is a carefully considered increase that you're content with?
Mr. Van Vliet, I just answered.
I don't think you did, but thank you. I did a bit of quick math there. Some of the circulations through the aquatic center were around in the neighborhood of 3,000 visits per month, which if you do the math, that's $100 per day, 30 days. A swim pass, however you fix it, might be $5. And so that's $500 a day. That's not a lot of money to work with for a big organization like that. So I can appreciate it's difficult. Other things to do with fees or the licenses, and it concerns me that the 5-0 Club it was once, you heard people talk about the 5-0 Club all the time. But have the visits gone down substantially? Is that the reason why they're closing?
I think you should talk to the president of 5-0 Club for those answers.
I could.
Questions, yeah. I don't speak for them at all. I heard their information for council, but I don't speak on their
Sure.
behalf.
Well, it's a matter of knowledge, and it leaps me into some of the bigger pictures now, is what's happening with our seniors in this town. What's their financial status? Are they able to participate? Are they feeling good? Are they doing well? If they're not showing up at programs, do we know why that is? So I'll leave that with you obviously that can't be answered, but can you see that that's a concern that I have?
I see it's your concern.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm also talking about seniors, I'm talking about taxes. And we've had this discussion about the increase in taxes. Somebody messaged me that their house assessment went up 21% this year. Mine's 12%. It's coming in, you're all around the same. So please remember that when you set the mill rates, that some people can just take it in stride, and some people absolutely cannot. In terms of the overall budget, and by the way, I was listening for the CEO report, and I missed a lot of points in there, but I had read through them carefully before the meeting. So I noticed that Storehild audited, I guess it's a peer review, our safety program last year, and everybody passed. You're probably all aware that Storehild went through quite an upheaval in the last months because they were involved with that consultant that we've got. So there's a lot of people that their ears are perked up as to what are we getting? Are we going to have 150 people in council because they're not sure what their bylaws are doing? So please underline that with a big physical presence today, that this is a real concern for Didsbury people. It's just me, but it's my opinion that there's a lot of people that care about it. I think the questions have already been asked, so I'll go there. I wanted to ask about, also in the CA report, was the water surplus, yeah. The water loss, quoted at 37%. That's down a little bit from 40%. Some repairs have been made. What's your target? What are you aiming to, your plan? Can you tell me that?
I think what I can tell you about water loss, Mr. Van Vliet, is you're down if you do, you're down if you don't. We
tell people about our water loss and that we're working on it, just like all municipalities in Alberta are working on water loss. And I think that's being open, honest, and transparent. And of course, we are going to get down as low as we possibly can. So you can ask any question you like, but you've heard the conversation. And we're being honest about our 37%, as is Ol's being honest about whatever percent they have, as is Carstairs, as is whatever. So I think we can beat it to death. You've heard report after report come to this table that we are paying attention to.
And I'm happy to hear that.
That's where the credit needs to be had, is that our department is looking after that, and they're just as keen as anybody to find out the problem, even more so, because it's their job to find out.
While I appreciate that, and it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's either going to cost you a lot of money or you have to endure the problems from it. But Councillor Baswick asked last meeting to Craig Fox if he had done any of the testing that had been spoken of 1 year ago. And I believe Craig said, no, he had not. Was I mistaken about that?
I don't know what you're saying, so.
Would you want to?
No, I guess you'll have to make that more clear what you're after, and then we can
There was methodologies and technologies available for free, apparently, to test the water system.
The Water Commission is talking about it, you said. So the Water Commission is talking about those collaborations with other municipalities. That isn't a done deal yet, so they're working towards.
Oh, so that's not necessarily available to us right now?
No.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you.
A solution towards that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Collaboration can happen.
Okay, because it is an intense problem. I took a shower in Calgary a while ago, and I was amazed at how much water came out of that thing. At my house, the water's really low. I'm concerned even about fire pressure, just so you know.
I'm going to give you 30 more seconds.
Perfect, thank you. Coming from the infrastructure, the balance, of course, is the asset management, and I think you know my opinion that as per the strategic plan so clearly lays out, it's CAO's responsibility to assure that the asset management is accurate and the reserve funds is adequate. We have not been getting feedback. I have not been getting feedback that reflects that from either yourself or from administration. I would like to help you by asking you for a couple of things. One is a comprehensive statement that shows all of the assets, because you've got about $65-some million under your charge, and how that works with the annual budget. That seems to be lacking in reporting, because it's the big picture that matters when you're making decisions, whether they're big decisions or small decisions. So I would like to request that, please, a comprehensive statement.
I'm sure you won't get it.
Because
I think if you read as much as you're telling me, Mr. Wembley, I think you'll understand that comprehensive infrastructure and asset study can be millions of dollars. And so if our budget is already a problem for you, I don't know where we can find the money to do that intensive study. So everybody, in fairness to any municipality in Alberta or in Canada, there is a huge deficit in infrastructure, and we know that. And I think who you need to talk to about this is the provincial government, because they're cutting us another 35 to 40% in infrastructure funding. And eventually, no municipalities will have enough money to even do one road a year, let alone every 3 years maybe we'll get one done. So it's our provincial government funding that is a huge issue. I'd also like to suggest or remind you that the majority of our reserves come from our operational budget. So if you want us to increase our operational budget to add to those reserves to fix the roads, we can do that as well. So I'm going to finish that by saying in our at the election, we had on the ballot the question whether or not people would pay more taxes to improve roads and infrastructure. And there's about 200 difference, but no one, the question. So provincial government funding is diminishing. That's how we fix our roads. federal government funding has been static for years with the GST, which is now the Canada Community Building Fund. So you task municipalities with all of these expectations. We're a $12 million budget, we're a 5,000 population. Our taxes from our provincial government has billions of dollars of surplus, but they cut municipalities. Municipalities are what keep our province running. That's where people live, that's where they get to build their home, that's where they participate in sports, that's where they enjoy their family and friends. But the provincial government gives us no credit for that, and they take away our money. So I think I'm going to direct you over to the provincial government to maybe start lobbying for more funding for our failing infrastructure in all of Alberta and Canada. Alberta in this case, but Canada in general.
Should we not then be careful with the money that we do have? And should we be extremely efficient and transparent about it?
We are careful with our money.
So could
I'm
I,
going to end the conversation because this will become a debate. I'll give you the information I have, and you won't be getting that study. So unless you want your taxes to go up so that we can pay it.
you don't have a study like that now? You don't have a comprehensive statement of your finances and coupled with your asset plan?
Mr. Van Vliet, we have an audit every year. So I'm going to end this reading, okay? So that has been over 5 minutes and I've asked for...
I'll just ask you for one thing, please, and that is, could I have a copy of the contract expenditures?
Contract for what?
You have $2.5 million of contract expenditures that nobody wanted to release last week, but there's people in the community that would really like to know that.
Anything that's presented will be presented at this table. So our residents don't get it first. Once it's presented to council, whatever's presented here is shared.
So you would do that process?
We voted down that motion
I know.
the last time.
Why would
Because I'm done the debate. I really am. I'm not going to get in a quote corner with you and trying to explain my way out. I've answered all your questions. Council has to vote on the items that we're going to deal with.
So the answer is just no. Okay, that's for the record. Thank you.
The information that we want, Mr. Van Vliet, not one citizen. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For your comments
Paul?
and questions.
Good evening, Linda Pluis. I live on 20th, and I think it was under Brian Whittles was mayor. 20th Avenue was going to be dug up, and that sewer line was going to be replaced. And it was highly important at that time. They got as far as giving us a date. Post office was going to be closed down, getting in there. They came across a problem with the trees because the people did not want to see the trees destroyed, and there was you'd have to have somebody on staff that would make sure that that wouldn't happen. And the other problem was we were the only ones on that line that could hook into it because everybody else's infrastructure was old. So it has been canceled. And I'm wondering with the water leakage that's happening, if that is part of it, because I was under the understanding that is the main water line coming into town that needed to be replaced over 10 years ago. So I'm just wondering if you were aware of that. I have not seen that in any planning.
That's good information.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And those kinds of tips or what can be helpful, or works, or Director of Department of Infrastructure and Engineering is here, so I don't know if you've engaged with him, but maybe that's a conversation you can have too, or what information you have that he wouldn't necessarily have.
Well, it should be in your guys' plan because it was so important to the point that they had told us when it was going to happen, where that road was going to be shut down. So,
And it was 10 years ago.
well, it was under Mayor Whittle, and that's all I can really remember for a year. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Penny Oblonsky, and I live a mile and a half west on 7th Avenue. And we've lived out there for going on 17 years now. And that road is unbearable. And we were just wondering if there's any plan or any hope that the town of Didsbury would be able to do something with that road. The school buses go by there twice a day, every day, during the school year. I was told it's not a high-traffic road and that there's no money in the budget. But this is 17 years now that we've been experiencing this, and I know a lot of our friends, when they come to visit from Calgary, are absolutely floored at the condition of that road.
Is that the road that heads west?
It heads
From
west,
the Torplex
yeah, at the southwest corner of Didsbury there. So that's my
I
question.
appreciate it. I'm aware of that road. Thank you for that. And I know that I don't have the answer for you right now. It isn't in our capital plan right now, in our multi-year capital plan. I think everybody knows the conversations we have about roads and the value and importance and priority of them. And it's just having the funds.
You know,
to
in
get to the
actuality,
roads as they need to be.
it would probably be better if they dug it up and just put it into a gravel road than the way it is, because, I mean, you literally almost lose a wheel on some occasions in some of those big potholes.
I do appreciate this. I think everybody here appreciates those, our department, director of infrastructure and engineering. I know we're all sitting here listening, and we know there are some bad roads, and thank you for that comment. And
Okay.
I drive it a lot too. I go land out west, and that's the road I use.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it every time. But
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And we really need to, I wish we had the money to fix them all.
I think this one is the worst in the whole area, though, frankly, that I've come across in all our travels around this area. It really is one of the worst.
And I'm glad you said that, because we always have had 23rd Street has been a big, it is a big concern, and it's under, it's under work right now, and there's more work that's being done in the spring, but I have to agree with you, that is a terrible road. And I wish I think we'll have that on our conversation as we bring our capital budget and our multi-year capital plan up, at least to address it as to where it can be prioritized or fit into the plan.
Okay, thank you then.
I'm not guaranteeing any dates. I'm sorry I can't. Okay, I'm going to take one more question because we want to get on with our meeting. And so I see someone coming up. Yes. One more citizen.
My name is Margaret Hübner, and I want to follow up on the pedestrian plan. My question is, was it a condition for the grant from the government to hire those two consultant companies? And how much is the part the town has to pay? Or what is the percentage of, like sometimes it's $50,000 the government is paying, but in addition the town has to pay $50,000. So that would be my question.
There seems to be a lot of concern about our pedestrian connectivity, and we're happy to hear your concerns and questions. What I'm thinking is that we can get a statement out about it to answer all these questions that have been here. And
So you record those questions, right?
What's that?
So you are recording those questions, I guess?
They're on these two machines, and
Okay.
plus, I see Ethan's writing them down, so I think we'll certainly get to your questions and answer them in an information post. And I know it'll be social media, but I also do a note from the mayor's desk at the end of February, and I'll get that on paper, so people will read paper. And then maybe we can also, our local reporter is always listening in on these, and I'm not trying to give him any ideas, but maybe he wants to talk a little bit about this once we have all the information for you.
With my second question, I want to follow up on the first speaker or on the first citizen of Didsbury.
I don't want to entertain any more questions about 15-minute cities.
No, it is, you as councillors, you said you have no information about the 15-minute cities. Administration don't want to dig into this. I want to just tell you, GSA on their webpage, you can see when you look on the directors, the first director, he has a statement to say they have good experience with working with the smart cities and stuff like that. Just as information for you. So it's easy to find on the internet. My second concern is not in regards to the pedestrian plan. I saw a few town meetings online or on YouTube. Last time I attended my first town meeting, and it came to my attention, or I picked up your code of conduct and your council procedure by law afterwards, and I understand the mayor is the chair of the meeting, and the CIO is the only employee of the council or of the council, and it was really surprisingly for me to see the CEO jumping up and coming to the gallery and attacking or bullying somebody. So that was I couldn't understand. But anyways, that's my comment and my observation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your questions and comments. And with that, I'm going to have to invite you back to the next meeting for gallery questions, or you can always email us or call. My information is everywhere. And I thank everybody for being here and all your questions. We appreciate them, and we will get back. Like I said, we get back to you. I think we need some names. There's a few questions. Wendy, did you want us to get back to any further? Would that answer you?
Sure. So what do you need? Do you need an email or a phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
So really, Amanda, could you stay with them?
And were you going to get back with the committee, forming a committee for just...
We're not even dealing with 15-minute cities or smart cities, so I don't see that as a reality right now. Like I said, we haven't even had a conversation about it. It's not on our radar. I don't hear anybody that's ever been interested in talking about 15-minute cities at this table, so all I can say right now is we have no inclination to pursue anything about 15-minute cities.
Does that overlap with the land use bylaws, do you know?
So I can't answer anymore because you're sitting out in the gallery there, and I was closing the meeting, but Brian, you...
I just wanted to see what was recorded, because apparently this gentleman got up and come to the citizens. So I'm just seeing what the video is covering, and then I'll go back and watch the last video of the town meeting.
Oh.
I'm curious.
Yeah, we have, it's live
That should
streaming,
not happen,
so...
right?
And Brian, in fairness, it shouldn't happen that you wander around into the area and not be acknowledged to speak. So I think there's a mutual respect that we have to agree on.
I'm just curious.
And I'm not going to address that. I think I'm going to say, though, that the gallery is just as responsible for their behavior in the gallery, and if there's poor behavior, then it is going to get addressed. And on our side, sometimes we are fortunate not to have tap bylaw in our police in our chambers, and we'd like to keep it that way. But if there is that behavior that indicates that, it would be a sad day.
I agree, but you're the chair, you're the boss, right? So if there was an issue, it should have been you, not somebody else, a town employee getting up and addressing the citizen. So I'm just going to watch the video and see.
Okay, thank you.
That
And thank
sounds
you,
bizarre.
everyone, again. I'm going to ask you to clear chambers now, and again, appreciate your participation. And yeah, we'll wait till they're cleared. No, I'm going to wait till they're cleared. No, it's just not. It doesn't matter. Okay, I've had many offers, I'm just waiting for the people to leave. Okay, and the people are out, I'll entertain a motion to go closed. Councillor Moore, all in favor?
Put your hand up.
That's carried.
I can't take it anymore. Can't take it, this must be a short meeting.